Hey, friends! I'm Jesse Fisco.
And I'm Ambry Fisco.
As founders of several successful businesses, we've experienced absolute joy and satisfaction working together to build our empire.
Our journey started off as a small business idea and has launched into a multi-million-dollar portfolio. It would have never been possible had Jesse and I not understood the key principles of making it all work together. But it has not been easy.
We found ourselves in the trenches trying to balance real life with business life while maintaining our strong commitment to creating an amazing marriage.
And we've emerged in a beautiful way together. This podcast was created to help you do what we've done, build an amazing marriage together while maintaining balance between life and business.
So here we are. You're listening to the Matrimonial Merger, a couple's guide to balancing life and business.
Let's get started.
Welcome to the Matrimonial Merger podcast. Jesse and Ambry here. Today, we're going to be talking about some of the major takeaways that we got from the 30 hours of conferences we've been in the last 2 weeks, and it's been unreal. And there's one common theme that every one of these speakers talked about, and we're going to share that today. And I'm super excited. How are you doing this evening?
Doing great.
Good. I'm so glad. I was going to say, it is kind of eerie how quiet it is in the house right now. Like all day long, our kids have been screaming.
It's
like
one of those days, very loud.
My ears are ringing still. Like,
man.
I just want to say how amazing you are, first of all, and how patient you are with those kids. Because I took a few shots to the ear with a big scream today, and I was just like, oh.
Those ones that like go straight down your spine and just make everything
right to the brain. And like all these programs and things we've been working on, like out the window, like, I just wanted to freak out.
Those are the true defining moments.
Yes, that's when you know that you're changing. But way interesting day. Lots of feedback, but it's okay. Like, but I want to talk about today the conference for those that maybe you followed us on Instagram or saw some of the photos. We were out in Scottsdale 2 weeks ago, and
we honestly didn't share that much while we were there. I feel like because we were just so like immersed.
It was 30 hours, 3 days.
Yeah, it was pretty powerful.
Well,
pretty impactful.
It was, and then the other thing that was interesting was like we all thought it was 8 hours, but then at dinner. Right? Yeah. Dinner was then another 3 hours or 4 hours of conversation of like high level stuff. My brain hurt. I'll be honest. Like there was so much amazing information coming in, but
it's good stuff.
Ambry and I both had some amazing takeaways from that. Ambry, in one of these days, I'm going to have her share her story about the $1 billion exit that just hit her mind. And I can't wait for that story. And that will be another episode down in the future. And for me, just the clarity of mindset for, what really needs to happen in 2023 to just continue to make it an amazing year, and what personal growth I need to improve on them. So, amazing conference. Thank you so much for, to the individuals that put that on. We're super grateful because it was huge and impactful. But one of the things, I would say, how many people got up and talked? There was probably like 15, 16 people.
I'd say like 12.
Okay, like 12. Okay. So one of the things that all 12 of these people really, really focused on is that inner voice, that higher self. Every one of them mentioned it, that there was this like inner voice that just told them they could do it. And that's what we want to talk about today, because really the big issue is we've all had that. We all know, like there's that inner voice, but the problem is that we find ourselves not listening to that inner voice, and we start to justify and create all the excuses in the world why that would not work. And I know that you as a listener have had that because it's a very normal thing, but how many times have we told ourselves, oh, there's just no way that would work, or oh, I can't do that, or oh, the money. And we are literally shooting down our dreams when really inside, internally, there's that burning desire and that knowing that that is possible and that you'd be very, very good at that very thing.
Yeah. I thought my microphone got unplugged, but we are good. I think that like sometimes it just comes like believing that you do have something unique to offer, right? Like, and learning what that is, and like maybe you are taking some time to really, discover yourself and, consider the things that other people tell you, like that you're really good at, or the compliments you get that are, more than just face value, and consider like, what is it that makes you truly unique? Like what makes you who you are? And that plays a huge role in whatever it is you have to offer in your life, family, business, work, whatever. Because at the end of the day, I would say, like, I don't even know what percentage, but a huge percentage of the time, I'll just say like 90% of the time, when you are selling something, whether it's a product or service or whatever, like the person likely isn't just buying what you're selling. They're buying you. Like they are investing in you and your purpose, your energy, your mission, not just whatever it is that you're offering.
100%. And the reason why, like, there are so many people successful for such interesting things. I mean, one speaker in particular, just way bizarre guy. Mm-hmm. But the reason why is because there's that conviction behind it. Yeah. And there's that story. And you are one of one. I mean, there's no one else that's going to have the same fingerprints that you have. Mm-hmm. And so you are one of one, and your story is one of one. So whatever product, whatever service you offer is one of one.
Right.
And that's unique in its own. Like, the value there is you. Yeah. And so my biggest concern is that so many people don't understand that, and they hold back, and they say, there's no way I could do this marketing platform. There's no way I could open up this photography company. Like there's so many things that are holding them back because they forget that value that they are one-on-one.
Like some people I follow on Instagram that like I gain a lot from following. Like they, teach about maybe health or different types of wellness or whatever. And I enjoy following them for that reason. And some of them like have something that they've created that they sell, right? But a lot of the times it's like they're sharing something that they use that works for them, and they're like getting paid to sell this product, right? But it's not even something that is theirs.
Right.
But I'm buying it. I'm like clicking and buying it off Amazon or whatever just because they recommended it, and I'm like, oh, if they use this and this works for them, like I have this like trust and rapport from following them and like learning from their journey. And so I'm buying it because, like, and so it's not necessarily the product that sold me. It's like the person and who they are, what they have to offer. And I think sometimes like we get caught up on like, oh, well, someone else has already done this, or like, this has been reinvented how many times, which there is some truth to that, right? Like you got to find your own edge, your own flair, and be unique. Like don't just try to copy exactly what someone else did. I'd say that would be a good idea to avoid, but at the same time, like by nature, you are unique. You have something unique to offer. So that in and of itself should, push you towards doing what it is you want to do. And sometimes I think following that inner voice, like you mentioned, or that just that push that you're feeling inside yourself leads to the desired and the right outcome, right? Like it might, what you want to do or what you intend to do could shift and change and like evolve through the process, right? But like at the end of the day, you'll get where you want to be if you're staying true to yourself and your unique offering.
100%. I mean, this podcast itself was a feeling from the inner voice. Like Ambry and Jesse, you guys have got to share your story. Like there's value there. There are people listening. And what's so funny is every time we think like, oh man, there's no one really listening, or oh, this episode's, different or unique, someone reaches out
Yeah.
And they're like, that hit me. And that changed my perception or my perspective on life. And it's a reminder, a consistent reminder that we are unique people and we have a story to tell.
Well, and keeping priorities in check, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not, honestly, like I don't check our listen stats every week. Like that's not why I'm here. Like I hope we can touch hundreds, even thousands of lives and help people and like share our experiences, because there's power in sharing, right? And power in vulnerability. But like, I'm not looking at that all the time and stressing out over like, oh, like our listens are down or didn't get that much traction, whatever, because that's not the purpose. Like the purpose is, we're showing up, we're being consistent, and, currently and over time that will create the outcome that we have and that we want. And, like then when people actually reach out to me or text me and ask me a question about an episode or say, hey, like I'm curious about this that you talked about, like that's why, that's why. So I could care less that we get, 10 listens or 10,000 listens. I mean, that's obviously fantastic. The more people that we can reach, the better. But that's not something that's like stressing me out, because it's like, we started this, 8 months ago, almost 8 months. Anyways.
Crazy.
And like we've showed up every week consistently for 8 months or 7 months, whatever it is.
We didn't want to be like, we don't even know what we're talking about, right? Like,
or the weeks that we just weren't feeling it because we're like, it's been a crazy week. Like, but we showed up and we did it, and we like took the confidence of like, we don't stop. We don't quit. Like we are going to stay consistent. We're going to show up and we're going to bring value. And anyways, like all that to just say that I think that just stay consistent and remember the purpose. And if that purpose is aligned with your, higher self and your priorities, then can't help but be amazing.
One of the guys, just amazing guy. I mean, he played for the University of Utah. He got up and spoke. He took a stab. You remember that? He got stabbed in the side in a fight. And then, long story short, he just kept believing in himself. He just knew that he was going to play football. And the dude ended up going and playing in the Super Bowl and winning a Super Bowl. And that was his life dream. I mean, the thing is all of us have these dreams, and ultimately those dreams can be accomplished. You could go to the NBA or go to the NFL, or you could be, whatever it is you truly want. You could be the number one entrepreneur, number one life coach, whatever it is. You could do that. It's just you've got to stay consistent with your dream.
Yeah.
And the more consistent you are with that dream and with that vision, the more and more of that reality will start to manifest. And that was one of the biggest topics that they just kept talking about and hitting home. Like one guy got up, and I'll never forget this. He's like, yep, I have $1 billion exit. And you and I resonated really, really well with this gentleman. His name's Ryan. And he gets up, he's like, I have $1 billion exit this year. And he's like, I've only sold $80 million worth of product, but I know I have $1 billion exit.
Yeah.
And the conviction in that room, the fire in that room, I mean, the absolute authority that he manifested in that room, because he knew. And like, imagine, like, what is your personal, like here in Utah, they'll refer to that as like a testimony, but like, what's your personal testimony for you? Yeah.
Well, and like going back to, we've said this before, but words don't describe, they define. So how are you defining your reality and who you are in general by the words that you're using day in and day out, right? Because like if I were to try to describe like what my life is right now, like, that's actually defining it. And so, I wouldn't want to be describing like negativity and like what I don't want. I'd want to be defining what it is that I do want and where I'm going.
Right.
And what I know I'm going to do, rather than like, oh, I want to do this, or like I think this is a good idea. It's like, well, I'm going to do this, and I know this is like my purpose and my, vision. So Yeah.
And you
Words
show
are
up.
powerful.
You show up for yourself every single day. Like
Yeah.
at this point in our life, like we've started a coaching program, we started the podcast, we have our real estate. If we don't show up, it's not because we're not showing up for anything or anyone. If we don't show up, it's because we chose not to show up for ourselves that day.
Yeah.
And imagine that kind of power. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you know what? I'm sick. Well, guess what? It's nothing else outside. It's just you.
Yeah.
You're competing against you.
Well,
And-
when you are dedicated, like when, things happen and like situations arise, like you're resourceful, you figure it out.
Right.
Like it doesn't put like this huge roadblock in your way. And, if you have a week where you're just like, you're getting started on something and you're trying to figure it out. And if you have a week that you just felt like I wasn't my best self, don't let that derail you. Like
Right.
pick up, move forward, remind yourself what it is you're doing, who you are, and, keep going. Like, at the beginning, right before the beginning of the year, we talked about like goals and it's like so many people lose sight of their goals like a few weeks into the year. And it's because, there's no purpose behind it, or because they didn't like create enough details around it that now it's like, oh, well, I haven't done that for a week, so I might as well just like not do that anymore. I'm just going to forget about it.
And I think a lot of this comes down to a deserving issue, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you have this feeling in your heart that this is what I need to do. Like, you know it. And yet, for whatever reason, sometimes you just say, no, not for me. I don't deserve that. That sounds too easy.
You think it should be harder?
No one would buy this product because I just know it so well. It's just too easy. But you know what? They would buy that product and you'd be paid millions of dollars for that thing. And it is easy because like life is supposed to be easy for you. You have a talent. And so, one of the quotes that like really stood and resonated with me is like, you don't get medals for making things harder. Like you don't. And so why are you making things harder on yourself when like it could just be that easy?
Yeah.
Maybe, like for me, one of the biggest things I had to eliminate for myself is if it's too good to be true, it probably is. I believed that with every fiber in my body. I believe that. And so when something easy came through, I was like, nah, there's just no way. That's
or you
too
attracted
easy.
things that really were that way because
Or exactly.
It's self-sabotage in a sense, right?
Yes.
Like you take a situation that you do deserve and you kind of sabotage it because you don't believe that you deserve
I
that.
made it harder than what it had to be. Mm-hmm. And when I finally recognized that like the reason why things were so hard is because I didn't believe things could be easy, I went and I started to unpack that program and understand where that all came from. Now guess what? I show up to work. Work's easy. Work's fun. And it's different. It's no longer like, oh, all this stress. Like now I just look at it and I'm like, oh, cool. I'm going to do a YouTube video. Oh, cool. I'm going to post something online. Great. You know what? I'm going to get my marketing done. And it's all just easy. And the people I'm attracting, the people that are helping us with these programs, it's just easy. It's done.
Yeah.
Like one of the coolest things, like I'm wearing one of the Emerge coaching hoodies right now that we had someone design. And it was super easy. I just sent it to them. They did it. They came back with a trial run. What's the
I don't know what we're doing.
But they came back with some proofs. Pretty
like
much
our
like
first
a test run.
Our first product. Yeah. I don't know what word you're looking for, but I know what you're saying.
But yeah, like anyways, so I'm wearing one of these hoodies that's just a test run of the product, and they did a phenomenal freaking job. Mm-hmm. Like it was easy. And then like I want to start a new shoe line. So what I do, I texted someone that I met 6 months ago that is starting his own shoe line. And I was just like, hey, I'd like to start my own shoe line too. And you know what? He sends me over the number of the person that's doing his shoe line. And he's like, hey, give this person a call. They're out in China. I'd love to, see what kind of things you could create. And what's even more interesting is they're like, maybe we could collab on a shoe together.
Yeah.
Like, it's easy.
It's
I'm just
cool,
doing what
like,
I want.
Another thing that, like, I know this is a little bit of a tangent, but that I love about that is, like, when you surround yourself with people that align and that, live an abundant mindset, like, you texting him, like, even though he's starting his own shoe line, like, you have expressed extreme, like, appreciation and, like, admiration for what he's doing. And, like, you're like, hey, I'd love to rep your shoe. Like, I would love to, like,
right.
be part help you. Like, I'd love to, be an ambassador, whatever. Right. And like that support. And then, you text him and you're like, hey, I actually want to do this for myself. Like, I want my own shoe to wear.
Yeah.
And, instead, like, he doesn't feel threatened by that, or like there's no like, oh, what you're doing is taking away from what I'm doing, because of the abundance mindset of like, hey,
Correct.
there's plenty out there for all of us. Yeah. And what I have is unique and what you have is unique. So the fact that we're both doing something doesn't mean that the other shouldn't, right? Does that make sense?
Right. And everyone has more than one pair of shoes.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. And style
occasions.
and whatever.
Exactly.
But like, we all attract what we give, like, for lack of a better word. And so like, if you are attracting people that, are trying to pull you down, take a look and ask yourself why. Like, what is it that you're doing, or what's in your mindset that's attracting that kind of a, environment? Because how cool is it that you can text, a friend and be like, hey, I know you're doing this, I'm interested, like, and he's willing to share his resources, because, like, anyways.
It's amazing. And that's, once again, it just comes back down to like, you're a unique individual, and you have a destiny on this earth. You have skills,
infinite value.
You have things you absolutely love that you could be amazing at. And why some of you are withholding that amazingness may come down to a deserving issue. Maybe you feel like me at that one point, like it would be too easy to do the things you love. Mm-hmm. So therefore you have to make it hard. Like, once again, you're not getting any medals for that.
Yeah.
Right? So go do the things
and
that
probably
you
not any more money or value either.
truly love. I mean, one person in particular, he invited me to this conference this weekend, and I have had multiple conversations with him about just starting something. He has a million great ideas, and all 1 million of those ideas could generate $1 million. Mm-hmm. But like, what he keeps telling himself is that there's no way someone would buy that. It's just too simple, or, oh, this is just too hard. Like, it's hard to put this together, when really what it is it's just a fear inside.
Believing in yourself.
And the believing. Yeah. And so I looked at him finally, and he's like, I got to do something. I just looked at him and I said, go home and ask yourself when the first time you felt fear. Like, I challenged him. I said, if you could describe all these feelings that you're telling me, all these reasons that you're holding your back, what would be the one emotion or one word that you would describe it? And he said fear. I'm like, go home and ask yourself, when's the first time you felt this way?
Yeah.
And challenge yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that to you as a listener. Like, think of that one word, that one emotion that you would describe the thing that's holding you back right now. And think of it, and then go home, close your eyes, and just ask yourself for a moment, when was the first time I felt this? And see what happens.
I like that.
And you may find that the thing that you first felt clear back when you were 5, 6, 7 years old no longer exists. And you can let that go. And you can just pluck it out of your heart, in essence, or wherever it is in your body, and just let it go back out into the ether so that you can continue.
Yeah. I like that. Jesse and I both just finished recently reading Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. And I'm like, I finished it like earlier last week or whatever, but I'm like, things happen, and like, I just can't stop thinking about that book because it was very powerful. So highly recommend like reading that book if you have not read it. But one of the things it talks about in there is like one of the devil's like greatest tools is fear. And it's because fear cripples us from creating and doing what we literally were put on this earth to do. And so anyways, like, as you were talking about fear, I was thinking about that. But in this book, like, the devil describes those who are like kind of under his grasp as drifters and people who just have lost the art and the ability to use their own minds to create, to literally just to create, to be themselves, to believe in themselves. And anyways, it was a really cool perspective and an interesting read, or rather listen, if you listen. I think like it's better on
Audible.
I was going to say like Audible. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I haven't read it, but I listened on Audible and I thought it was awesome. But anyway, so there's a good one to read if you feel like you're needing something just to light the fire under you of why, and give you that motivation and the affirmation that like what you're doing and going against the grain, like, and not drifting, quote unquote, like it is powerful and it changes your life, changes your children's life, their children's, like it's incredible. So
Yeah.
anyways, that's a great book to read.
100%. And I would
And
say
it's pretty short.
it is. And I would say the one thing, go home, write it down, take it from your brain and put it on paper and actually start to create. But go home and write down all the things you're good at, all the things you love.
Yeah.
And as you go home and you write it down, you may find yourself challenging going, oh, I'm not very good at that. Well, okay, maybe you are.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe there's some like feelings or things
Yeah.
you need to unpack there. But like go home and just write it down. And then after you figure out the things you truly love, the things that just motivate you, like if you ask me what motivates the heck out of me, it's doing this. It's talking to you as an individual and saying you are a creator. Like you can create your life and helping people be motivated. Ambry, you ask Ambry one of the major things that she loves, she'll say birth.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. Like she loves childbirth and the whole process and how beautiful that is. Right? And so
I think too, like trusting that like innately, like there's things that like if like think about the last time you talked with someone about something and it was just like
easy.
you felt like excited and on fire and like and then you're like, I could have talked about that all day, like there's one thing for sure, maybe a handful of things that are like that for you. And so as you write this list down too, like be very keen on listening in yourself and feeling what emotion comes as you write that thing down. And if there's, a couple things that really stand out above the others, take another step, right? And write down additional data about that thing, like emotions that you feel, things that you like, how many different ways, write down 50 different ways that you could make money off of that and still find like the joy and fulfillment in the process, right? Because I believe that, money is a asset that we all need on this earth. Like we need money to, to maintain our lives, right? But I believe that can be had while also fulfilling our higher purpose and creating something more than we might currently see.
I love
so be very aware of the feeling and emotion behind the things that you're writing. And when it strikes a chord and you're like, oh, wow, there's something there.
Yeah.
Or you're talking with someone about something and you're just like, man, that was such a great conversation. I love that. Like, this is something that just brings me so much joy. Walk away and go, oh, maybe there's something there.
Right.
Go write down 50 ways you can make money off of that thing.
And you'll have a business idea.
And things will flow, right? Like going towards it, things will happen. I'm in that process right now. And like, trying to discover certain things and like, it makes me very aware and curious of, all the emotions and things that I have around certain topics, certain ideas. And anyways, so
You're
as you go towards something, what?
You're extremely good at having a conversation on this podcast. So,
oh, am I talking too much? Is that your way of telling me I'm talking too much?
I'm telling you that you are extremely good at motivating too.
Oh, thank you.
I'm just pointing out new things, right?
But I feel like sometimes we get stuck at like, oh, that's not good enough, or that idea is not complete.
Right.
It may not be at first. At first, it may just be like a seed of an idea, right? But like, don't let that hold you back. Like, go towards that and allow additional ideas and thoughts and feelings to flow. And all of a sudden, you'll wake up one day and be like, holy cow, I did it. I have it. Like, this is what, what I wanted. This is what I was trying to create. And it just happened because I was going towards. Anyways.
I'll tell you one thing too. It's just like, close your eyes and just clear your mind and ask yourself, what is it? What is it that I'm good at? Your unconscious mind may ultimately just tell you. Like, one of the things that I did the other day is I sat there with Ambry and we did a meditation and in essence, just listen to some low frequency music and just set our mind right and just sat there in silence. And I don't remember how long we were there. It was probably an hour. Like,
yeah, it was.
I had fallen asleep and woken up, fallen asleep. But instantly, at some point, I saw my face. I saw myself. And myself handed me a book. And the book was called Mindful Miracles. And in that book, I looked at who the author was and it had my name on it. And you know what I did is next day just started writing it, right? I've never thought about writing a book, never thought about the, what kind of impact that would have. But my inner voice told me that that's something I need to do. And therefore, I'm going to do it. I'm going to listen. And what's interesting is I have found so much fun writing the memories. I'm into 3 pages, but the memories that I've had by going back and revisiting that, it just at one point I was crying because I had this tender mercy of talking to Quincy as if it was back in that time. And those times that you can't get back. I mean, 2-year-old Quincy who just comes in the office when I'm at the most stress point of my life and just looks at me and says, "You can do it, Dad." And how impactful that was. And those are the types of things that my inner voice is telling me that it may not be a top seller. It may be, who knows, right? But what I do know is that this book was designed for me, and it's making me feel at a higher level and a better person for myself. And so I want you all to think about that for a moment. Consider that you have amazing thoughts and ideas that come to your mind every single day, and you have amazing talents. And if you would just listen to those and not put up the resistance, where would your life be? How much happier would you be?
Yeah.
It's crazy. Have some faith in yourself. Start to design your own personal testimony about what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We have all this faith in God. We have all this faith in other people around us. How much faith do we have in ourselves?
Yeah. Well, and if you're innately connected to God, believe that you have that ability to know and to discover and to create. So,
yeah, I love it. Well, hey, we made it 32 minutes.
woo.
Woo, woo. You guys, if we struck an emotional chord and you liked what you heard. If you liked what you heard
Liked
on
what
this,
you heard.
like what you did. If you guys enjoyed this, please leave us an honest review and share this with your friends. We absolutely love getting this message out and sharing it with other people. And there's a lot of messages out there, and there's a lot of great things, but the message we want to share is that you guys can do it. You're an amazing person. You're a creator, and you can create your world and your reality to become a beautiful thing.
100%.
So we appreciate you listening.
Thanks for being here.
Send us your questions. We love to do an episode designed specifically for your question or your thoughts. And we hope you have a fantastic week.
Until next week.